Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is a wonderful day in the corporate neighborhood. Or is it? Welcome to the Elevate Your Corporate Value podcast with Dr. E, where we will have conversations on the topics under the four pillars I feel are critical to employee success in corporate: leadership, engagement, analytics, and performance, aka LEAP. Mastering these will allow you to have wonderful days and to leap in your career. I am Elizabeth Dr. E. Carter, PhD, your corporate elevation and transition strategist and host. I understand the challenges you face as a corporate professional trying to thrive in the workplace. I have the experience and expertise to help you navigate in the corporate world. We will laugh, cry, but most importantly, accumulate tools that will allow you to become more confident, empowered leaders who are valued and respected in the corporate world. Now, I share in the spirit of giving you what I never got, the feedback that would have helped me that I never received. So let's get started. Hello, Elizabeth Dr. E. Carter here. Welcome to our latest episode of Elevate Your Corporate Value with Dr. E. Today, we're diving into a topic that is very important in elevating one's career, and that is being ready. This fits into the leadership category of my LEAP framework. I always say you can't lead others unless you know how to lead yourself first. And elements of confidence, resilience, perseverance, those are all prerequisites of being ready. Understanding those concepts can transform the way you approach your challenges, innovation, and leadership in the corporate world. So let's get started. Now, Will Smith said, but I think others have said it also, that if you're always ready, you don't have to get ready. And this is so true. Every day we wake up and we have no idea what is in store for us. There could be a knock at the door. Knock, knock, knock. Who is it? Opportunity. What? Now, do you run and turn off all the lights and act like no one's home, like it's Halloween and you ran out of candy? We don't want to do that. When there's a knock at the door, again, we can't be ready for everything because we don't know everything. Like you may not know exactly when an illness may come. We do know about death comes eventually. Paying taxes is inevitable. Those we could be ready. But some of the unknowns at work, like a key employee gets sick, the company gets sold, a key leader decides to step back, a brand new position is posted. Now, it's nearly impossible to feel and think you're 100% ready. But the point about the preparedness of oneself, you never have to be 100%. But the challenge is that we have this push and pull of thinking and feeling. Thinkers use what is outside of them, facts, figures, evidence to make decisions, while those who are considered feelers use what's inside them, their values and their beliefs to make decisions. And sometimes there's a conflict. For example, an opportunity arises. You feel you're ready. You are confident. You're thick-skinned to navigate some of the muddy waters. You have a strategic mindset. But when you look at the facts, maybe you don't meet all the prerequisites for the job, or don't have any real contacts. Your past performance reviews were okay. But do you go for it? But maybe there's a time on the opposite when you know you've got this in the bag. You've read through the requirement. You know, oh, I got this based on what is on paper. But there's this sense of self-doubt, imposter syndrome, fear of failure. So in that case, do you go for it? That's the challenge. I love using alliterations, acronyms, mnemonics, and I want to first just quickly talk about some of the characteristics that are needed to be prepared to be ready. And it is R, being resilient, E, being efficient, A, adaptable, D, determined, and Y, yielding. So that's how you know that you are ready. And let me just tell you a brief story about myself and being ready. I had been looking at my job for my next. My next would be a promotion from a director to a vice president. That was how the hierarchy worked in this company. And as I was looking at the job requirements, there were some areas that I knew I had the evidence. I thought I could do it. I had the background. I had the knowledge. There were also those same areas. I was feeling great. I was feeling confident, had no doubt about doing the job. But then there were some other areas that the leader was looking for that I had no experience in. I had no clue. There may have been some phraseology I had to look up because I was well out of my comfort zone. But I decided to go for it because you never know what could happen. And I want to share with you some elements pertaining to ensuring that you're ready for anything. Here are some tools, and I'll share with you how I went through this process as I made the decision about actually going for the job, and how I leveraged some of those areas where I wasn't really feeling great about being the right person. So first was research opportunities extensively. And underneath that is always looking at your strengths and weaknesses. And that's what I did. Again, I looked at the areas that I knew I had great knowledge and insight into. At the same time, recognizing the areas where I would say, you know what, I definitely will have to look for resources to help me. I will have to find out who are the subject matter experts and learn from them. What I also did is identified areas that weren't even part of the job responsibilities. I called those a bonus. For me, that was I enjoyed training always, and I was a diversity, equity, and inclusion champion. They had not yet had that type of training, I'll say committee around DEI in that group. So I brought that with me, which clearly they needed, but was not part of this role. So that was a bonus. And there were a few other things I said, you know what? These are areas that I love working in that this very large team could benefit from. The second piece about researching is about looking at areas of your past that someone may ask you about. And the challenge is that when we think about memories and people, it seems that there are short memories about the good and long memories about the bad. So you have to recognize what might be a situation or question that comes up. Depending on how long you've been at the company, news travels fast, good and bad. So there may be a situation that you were involved in, especially when you're a little bit higher up in the organization. It's a very small circle, so a lot of people know a lot of things. And a question may come up that say, hey, when you were part of this group, you were involved in this project. I understand it went well, didn't go well. Tell me about it. Fortunately, I was moving to a totally different area, so I didn't necessarily have to explain anything in that way, but I know that so often people avoid opportunities for that very reason. Some failure they had 2, 3, 4, 5, 20 years ago still sits in the back of their head and says, I wonder if somebody's going to ask me about it. But don't worry about it. You can talk about where you have come since then, what you learned from that, and areas where you've leveraged that into something bigger and something else more successful. Also, part of the conversation as you're researching and preparing, now it really is about the conversation. Ensuring that when you reformat your resume, specifically for this opportunity, you again layer on top those relevant skills and experiences. And also for the conversation, we have a interview process of questions, and we call the responses the STAR method: situation, task, action, and result. If you have I would say a lot of those, or even have, I would call pretty much a Rolodex of those, because we have so many that we've been through over our journey of our career, have some of those ready so that when the question's asked, you have a great response. So that is the R, research opportunities extensively. The E is engage with mentors regularly. Now, this sense of mentorship, sponsorship, having a personal network of advisors is so critical. I was so fortunate that I had a mentor throughout my journey at this organization. And when this opportunity came up, I reached out to her and said, hey, I'm thinking about this. I have this. I don't have that. What do you think? And she immediately became not only my mentor, but my sponsor. And just briefly, the difference between the two is that the mentor is really helping you where you are trying to get to the next step. What the sponsor does is provides opportunities and opens doors for you that you couldn't open on your own. So what she did for me is that she went and spoke to the leader about me. Because we had such a great relationship, she knew the work I had done, and always at that higher peer-to-peer level, there's always a different sense of community. So I really appreciated her for doing that. And you also, in that space around engaging with others, is always talk to other people. Have them give you feedback around what they think, not about the job itself, because they may not know what the job is, but really about you and some areas of improvement. And we have to be able to take feedback with a grain of salt, of course. Everyone has their own perspective of us. So take what you feel is useful, and then what you may not feel is useful, still thank them for it, but you can do what you want with the information. Always, always have other people around you to support you. That may mean being involved in other professional networks, going to different conferences, having other maybe volunteer groups you're a part of. Just always have people around you who are moving in the same direction, can empower you. What I'm involved in at this point in time is a group called a Chief, and those are women at the VP and above level. And I love meeting with them because we talk about what's happening in our worlds, and then we can share our own tips, highlights, thoughts, what we've been through in order to support the other person. So have that type of group around you, because it'll help you not only as you're working toward this next position, whatever it is, but once you're in it, that's a really great foundation to help you. The A, align goals with actions. First of all, having a clear goal. As you're thinking about this particular situation, it might be another role, maybe something else you're thinking about, maybe a transition. You want to understand exactly what the goal is, not just of the role. What is your goal? Why are you taking this on? Is there something specific you are wanting to achieve with this role? Are you trying to learn a totally new area of an organization? Are you wanting to have a bigger team to lead? There's so many different things we have to think about. So often at I would say the beginner levels of our career, we're looking to move up because we want more money. But they say more money, more problems. And it's true. So you have to be clear that it's not just about the money. It really is about the fulfillment of what you're trying to do for your life. When you are looking for something very specific that may not bring you what you need, it becomes a burden. So always think about what is your goal and why are you looking at the opportunity. For me, I wanted to expand my knowledge of the organization. I was moving from where I had been sitting in finance, which is my master discipline, we'll call it. I wanted to leverage that into other areas of the organization that needed a financial lens, but that wasn't their primary focus. And I wanted to be able to be that piece of the puzzle that they were missing. So that was my goal. And the other piece of the goals is about a growth mindset. You have to be willing to open your mind to new experiences and at the same time learn from mistakes. And lastly, you want to visualize success. When you think about that end point, how do you want to leave something? Of course, for me, I like to leave something better than I found it. I like to leave people better than when I first met them. So visualizing the exit helps you create that walk or path from where you are today to that point. And that will help you when you start to get, I'll say, beat up in a nice way. You start to get criticized. People start to challenge what you've done, challenge your thought process. We don't need for you to start to have that imposter syndrome kick in. The D, develop skills continuously. So, of course, when you look at this job posting and you see there are a handful of things you don't necessarily know, there's tons of training everywhere to get what you need. There's online courses like LinkedIn Learning, Coursera, Udemy. There may even be training inside your organization if they have a learning portal with modules that they've already built for employees to use. You may need to tap into one of your associations. Maybe they have guest speakers at their meetings, or always a conference where there are breakout sessions where you can learn certain skills. Do that. The other piece of leadership is public speaking. I love Toastmasters. That is one great place to learn in a sandbox. It helps you learn to speak more confidently. It allows you to learn to speak up and out and over if needed. And you gain the confidence to know that what you have to say matters, that what you have to say could change a life or a trajectory or a direction. So be able to do that. And also, if you're not quite at a leadership position yet, so maybe you're working towards your first or second leadership role, you want to continue to hone in on those skills. And depending on what you do today, you may not necessarily have all the areas of leadership that you'd like to have. And I love to be involved in volunteer organizations. That's another place to gain skills that you may not gain inside the job you have today. Being part of a volunteer organization and leading a committee or a project or event gives you great transitional skills. Being able to articulate that later on or even in the conversation as you're talking to someone about an opportunity, you can leverage those situations as experiences because that's what they are. Then Y, yield positive results consistently. First is positive self-talk. And just going back a moment to the developing skills continuously, I'm a lifelong continuous learner. I have 2 master's degrees, a PhD. I will look for small certification items today that give me a few extra knowledgeable items that I need to know from what I'm doing. I will go to a conference and take notes for days on what the speaker is talking about, because you never know when someone will call upon you for a project or a team, and this is how you stay ready. So back to the why, yield positive results consistently. First, positive self-talk. We have to talk to ourselves in a positive way. We tend to want to talk to ourselves in a negative way. You can't do it. This is not working out right. You should give up. Why are you even trying? We have to turn those around to, I can do it. We use I am successful. I am going to have a great event. I am going to go for this job. I am going to speak confidently and efficiently in order to get what I want. And always document your accomplishments. There was a question I responded to out on LinkedIn about how do you continue to motivate yourself on days when you don't feel so motivated. I keep what I call a win folder, WIN. There's where I place just a folder, usually electronically, all the notes, the comments, the thank yous that people send to me, because I really appreciate them. When there are days that it's not going so well, I can go to that folder and remind myself, going back to the affirmations, that I am good at what I do. I am changing lives. Think about that and don't talk to yourself negatively. Talk to yourself in a positive way, and that will continue to yield you positive results. So as a reminder, here were the 5 points pertaining to being ready. Research opportunities extensively, engage with mentors regularly, align goals with actions, develop skills continuously, and yield positive results consistently. Now, of course, remember now that many leaders started from a place of uncertainty and doubt. Your willingness to grow, learn, and push through those feelings will set you apart and prepare you for that role. And what it did for me was, even though, again, I wasn't feeling as if I was totally prepared, I didn't necessarily have all the prerequisites for that job, I still went for the interview. And I got the job. I provided value to the organization. And I'm so excited that I stepped well out of my comfort zone and did that. But it reminds me to always stay ready so I don't have to get ready. And I say the same for you. Go for it and always be ready. That is our topic and conversation for today. I am Elizabeth Dr. E. Carter, PhD, your host. Thank you so much for joining me for the Elevate Your Corporate Value podcast with Dr. E. Please like, share what you've heard today, and please tune in for our next episode. Thank you and have a great morning, great afternoon, and great evening.